Right now, I look at the world in a different way. I really it's like the veil has been lifted off the world, and what I see, what the world is. It is about. It is pain. It is suffering. Guantanamo is the real face of the world and life. That's how I see it. Um, Coming back, that veil has been, placed back, and I'm expected to accept society as though things like Guantanamo Bay aren't happening, or even worse. But I can't do that because I've seen beyond the veil.
Guantanamo Bay Detention Camp, located within the U.S. Naval Base in Guantanamo, Cuba, was opened in 2002. The camp was established to detain and interrogate dangerous people, specifically focusing on suspected terrorists. The facility has become controversial due to the treatment of detainees that has violated the Geneva Conventions. Since 2002, the prison has tortured and denied responsibility that has impacted detainees permanently. Experiences of torture created here have caused not only long-lasting damage to the body, but also the mind. To uncover the legacy of Guantanamo of those incarcerated, the Witness to Guantanamo Testimony Project provides insight to what occurred at the camp and how former detainees experience life afterwards. The Witness to Guantanamo Project, founded by Peter Jan Honesberg, is a project that uses 152 video testimonies from former detainees and other witnesses of Guantanamo Bay in order to give these people a voice and spread public awareness of the history of the U.S. Naval Station at Guantanamo Bay. Judith Herman, a Harvard psychiatrist, explains how chronically traumatized individuals may lose their baseline state of physical comfort and complain not only of insomnia and agitation, but other numerous types of physical symptoms, including tension headaches, gastrointestinal disturbances, and abdominal back or pelvic pain. This lack of comfort is reflected in the legacy of Guantanamo by Fletcher and Stover, who reported how former detainees have felt physically and psychologically since being released from Guantanamo in order to understand how these individuals were affected. Those who were interviewed reported physical pain such as pain in the wrists, knees, back, and ankles, which were a result of shackling, hanging, or stress positions. Others complained of deteriorating eyesight. Those interviewed reported that the physical impairments experienced affect other aspects of their life. Bashir al-Rawir, a former detainee, reflects on how he was physically treated while detained. An Iraqi citizen and a resident of the UK. He was detained while traveling to Gambia in November 2002. He was turned over to the U.S. authorities and was held in the dark prison in Kabul before being transported to Guantanamo. He was released without charge in March of 2007.
Again, I can give you many examples. People would be sort of locked up in isolation for endless months. People would be sort of deprived from decent food for long periods of time. They could simply switch off and disconnect the water supply, and you can't use the toilet. They could strip you, keep you naked, literally naked, or sometimes with your underpants. They could go into the cell, beat you up, spray you with pepper spray, and just leave you there. Again, sleep deprivation was used extensively in Guantanamo, really extensively, but in a very sort of pretty sort of way, if one could call it pretty. So all they will say, they don't tell you we're subjecting you to sleep deprivation. You're in your cell, they tell you it's time to move. So you move from one cell to another. And an hour later, it's time to move. So you move from one place to another. And an hour later or 2 hours later, it's time to move. And they keep doing that. And it's no big deal. orders are written on a piece of paper. The guards shift change, and the new shift they will just do the same routine again and again. Very, very simple. It's no big deal. But for the individual that this is happening to, they destroy your life. You really destroy. However strong, however tough you are, however principled you are, however much you don't want to cause any problem, but it will destroy you. It's not something.
Not only have practices at Guantanamo permanently affected detainees physically, but mentally as well. The legacy of Guantanamo noted that 2/3 of respondents reported having emotional difficulties since leaving Guantanamo. Symptoms included having vivid memories, developing obsessions, becoming easily frustrated, nightmares, developing quick temper, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder.
It's not something you'll see. As I said, in the third world country, they're so stupid. They beat you, and look, you can, oh, look, they've tortured me, they do this. I came out of Guantanamo, and physically, I could not show anything. But I have to tell you, the pain I carry inside and the memories I have are really very great. And I have nothing to show.
Khalid Ben Mustafa was one of the 5 French citizens arrested in Afghanistan in 2001. He was detained at Guantanamo for 3 years before being sent back to France for trial.
On se rend compte qu'à la fin, ça sert à rien d'aller voir un psychologue. Parce que il va vous écouter, il va vous donner des médicaments.
Ultimately, there is no use in seeing a psychologist because he's just going to listen to you and then he will prescribe some medicine. We all know what the problem is. It isn't going to be fixed with medicine. The psychologist knows the problem. He knows what's wrong with you. So there is some hypocrisy behind all this because everyone knows what the problem is. It isn't hard to figure out. When you see the living conditions in Guantanamo, you know what the problem is. So he's going to listen to you. He's going to give you medicine, but he too is an accomplice in the system. You know what I mean? In Guantanamo, everyone you've met, they were all part of the system. One cannot trust anyone in Guantanamo, not anyone, because they're all on the same side. They're all fine with the system.
And what was your sense of David when you first met him?
Oh. A lost soul. Just, don't know how to describe that. Wasn't good. A lost soul, frightened. And very anxious. Play with their heads. Play with their minds. And I'm sure that's what's happened to him. He's not sure of anything anymore. He's not sure on making decisions. He really has a hard time to make a decision. He was never like that before. It's all up here. They definitely played with. I don't know much about Guantanamo and what goes on in there, but I know that something happened to him with his mind. And David doesn't talk about it. And don't ask me why. We don't ask questions. Because I don't want him going back thinking about what may have happened to him there. You sort of keep away from that area. And you sort of think to yourself, if he wants to tell you, he'll tell you. It's like the men who go to war, isn't it? They don't talk about what they did. So I guess it's the same principle. But he's not the same lad. They definitely did something to his mind in there.
One, it will never be the same, but I hope the lessons learned I will always have, and I hope my old me, part of that, a big part of that, I like to have back. You know, like me, who I feel I am. I like to have that back, and I think that takes time. That takes a long time, a lot longer than I had thought.